Our club experienced the most historical moment last Saturday, not by the final scoreline against Bayern Munich, but the unsporting and ridiculous behavior of the individual Bayern Munich fans that almost led to the match abandonment. I should say, although the Munich ultras may generally support anti-Hopp campaign, they certainly do not aim at making the crosshair poster and the insulting slogan. The chants and poster directed towards our president start from the Dortmund fans. Even its management board, being the accomplice, have been the foremost driving force to protest against Hopp for many years. The anti-sentiment came up again in the last December when we host Dortmund in the league match. Some fans from the away side put up the drawing of Hopp with a crosshair on, claiming that he is a very dominating and irritating figure in the German football and should be banned from the soccer forever. The German Football Association recently announced that all Dortmund fans are to be banned from visiting Bilingual Stadium again for the coming 2 seasons. This is an exceptional and unexpected collective punishment given to a Bundesliga team. The sentiments went up once again right after the punishment, starting from the match against Mönchengladbach to Bayern Munich and to other Bundesliga and second Bundesliga clubs last Saturday and Sunday. The protesters hand up the crosshair poster and chant the words with personal abuse like "Hosen." The match against Bayern Munich has to be stopped. Our club president stood up, and to the mutual consent of both Hoffenheim and Bayern Munich, the match continued by just passing the ball on the pitch after the match resumes. This is an unprecedented scene in the soccer world. Various club senior management and coaches stand solidarity with Hopp, condemning the inhumane and insane behavior of the individual fans. They all think that Hopp doesn't deserve such humiliation. Of course, if you look back to our club history, you should know that how Mr. Hopp built the team up from zero. He took up the team since Kreisliga A in 1989 and started pumping money and other forms of investment into the club. The gradual improvements see the club's scope expansion in various areas, including personnel, structure, players' quality, facilities, and the establishment of our youth academy. Even after the promotion to the Bundesliga, Hopp did not aim at expanding the club to the brink of violating the financial fair play. Instead, he wants the club to operate self-sufficiently even after its exit or retirement. So much of his investment has been distributed into the academy and technological development instead of buying star players. He is a real football entrepreneur with great vision and kind heart, considering that he is born and raised in Heidelberg. He simply wants to make the football great in Sinsheim without the usual ambitions of the billionaires who acquire the rich and historical soccer clubs. He also endorsed the appointment of Julian Nagelsmann, who should be the most talented young coach in the 21st century. The important decisions and plans he implemented in the clubs were paramount to the long-term development of the clubs. Apart from the club contribution, he also donated millions of money, which mainly comes from his Hopp donation to the medical institutions and other social service centers. To put it simple, he is a man who we should pay respect to. He just deserves more and more. It is disreputable that the fans wrongly indicate that Hopp is the culprit of breaking up the core values of Bundesliga. When talking about the rise of commercial soccer clubs like us, Wolfsburg and RB Leipzig, we should not always resist the owner model, because it is simply against the German soccer values. Why don't we accept that different clubs should have its own operating model? Investment. Every club need actually as long as it follows the rule of games. Please remember, Hopp follows the 50+1 rule by putting continuous investment over 20 years. The rules include the exception case which Hopp follows. If the German soccer fans thinks that it is unacceptable, why didn't you take the action in the first place and launch your protest to the DFL? They set up the rules. If you don't want it, you should bring the league. But please don't humiliate the individual who make the contribution to the club and to the German soccer. To my surprise, it is a bit shameful that one of the biggest clubs in the world is also a breeding ground to the anti-social soccer fans. Though Karl-Heinz drew a line between the clubs and the chaotic individual right after the incident on Saturday. It is ironic that even Hansi Flick himself knows something would be planned by the ultras before the match, though he may have no clue of finding what the ultras think beforehand. So is the club also responsible somehow of not preventing the embarrassing incident from happening? And it is also strange what the security and DFL were doing to the personal check at the entrance. Supposedly, the poster and slogan were not difficult to locate, especially following the Hanoi incident 1 week ago. The anti-Hopp sentiment should continue for weeks unless DFL is going to take a tighter measure against the immoral individual. Otherwise, it will endanger the fairness of the Bundesliga weekly matches. The Anti-Hopp incident dominates our matchups against Bayern Munich last Saturday, but yet another disastrous home match result should be the main discussion. Should the Bayern fans behave themselves? Following to what I discussed in the last episode, Alfred Rotter seems still unable to find an effective tactical plan. Well, you should say we lost Karlheinz, Dabur, and Aubameyang. Kamari is not available in the starting lineup, but if Kamari was available in the second half, why don't either not using him in this match or simply putting him in the starting lineup? And how about Karlheinz? So much important to our team that no one could replace him, either by the lowly Rudy or Porsche. If he was not injured, why did Alfred opt for Rudy instead? There is pointless to discuss how bad we performed on Saturday. I'm really disappointed to the players' attitude. This is the first time I see this happen in Hoffenheim for 4 years. The players simply could not run or press the opponents. All players in the midfield, either Samaseko or Ribeiro or Grealish, have nothing to secure our possession on ball. The backline was simply disorganized and given too many half spaces for Coutinho and Alphonso Davies to bust forward. No one could stop the dynamic Davies. Suber, on the other hand, was passed numerous times and having zero contribution to the front three. Northwhite was simply disappointed since he could not use his physical quality to stop Shaxi. Poor positioning. He should be a better and better defensive midfielder. Only Baumgartner and Bilbao kept running on the pitch, but Bilbao is really a first choice right winger and only our fourth or even fifth choice striker. He is not a top player, and once again Baumann came to our rescues, otherwise we should lose 0-10. How on earth our players became so unmotivated last Saturday? The team in general was still very disciplined in the last match against Mönchengladbach. If this served as a one-off incident, or a protest against Elvis Roder as some internal affairs happen? I don't want to make a guess, but Elvis should bear the full responsibility for the extremely poor display last Saturday. Let me reiterate that it's not the scoreline making us embarrassed, but the players' overall attitude. It should be not so difficult to retrieve what the boys did in the second half against Bayern Munich in the DFB Pokal. Elvis Roder would like to change the formation to 4-1-4-1 when the match proceeds to the 30th minute and when the team losing 0-3. You could argue that he was willing to change. Well, I know his intention was to strengthen the midfield intercepting ability and hope for resuming some possession time. But why did you take Brum Larsen off? He was very successful to cause a bit havoc in the Bayern Munich right flank area. And the most important thing was he could not motivate the player for the match, including after the interval, and once again put the wrong selection in the front. At the moment, there is no reliable and clinical striker following the injury of Dabur and Adam Young. I think it is really the time to put Scoff in the centre forward next match. I really have doubt about his dribbling skill for being a suitable winger, but really no doubt about his goal scoring ability and also the free kick expertise. 0-6 may be a humiliation to us, but a bigger crisis is popping up. If Elvis Roder could not turn the tide around this time, that may become an avalanche for the rest of the games. Some fans may ask if the rematch or a marked deduction to Bayern Munich is possible due to the anti-Hopp protests. Well, the answer should be very slim. Although the sport arbitration hasn't made its final decision, the German Football Association claimed that the match official already followed the 3-point plan guideline. The match was stopped, the fans were cautioned, the match official made the announcement. Usually in this case, the match could be abandoned. However, the match resumed in the unusual mutual agreement as a way to stand for Anti-Hopp. So there should be no way to retrace and question the match validity. Frankly, Hoffenheim deserved to lose the 3 points. We should learn from the lesson immediately, not to lose a single match in the home stadium again. This should be our fans' basic consensus so far.